Greetings, my friends. This is certainly one of the most introspective times in my entire life. And what I've been thinking about as I've been meditating and contemplating and praying here this morning is how much throughout my life I've expected to be rescued. And so I've entitled today's talk, Expecting Outside Help, and I just finished writing a little blurb a few minutes ago, in which I said, many of us, myself included, look for a savior. Someone stronger than we think ourselves to be that will rescue us from the mess we've gotten into as we live in this world. Whether the second coming of Jesus or angelic ET beings from the sky, we'd like to be rescued. What if our real help is to come from something within us, rather than someone or something we see as outside of us? I'm realizing more and more that the things that have happened to me in my life, in retrospect, have always, when I'm honest with myself, reflected my own consciousness. I see that for most of my life, not just myself, but almost everyone around me has a prisoner mentality. We see ourselves as victims, which is slaves. Slave and victim is the same thing. We see ourselves as trapped. We don't see ourselves as ignorant. Perhaps that's the biggest problem of all. We don't see ourselves as ignorant, when the truth of the matter is, we are extremely ignorant. We don't like to say that because it makes us sound stupid. But the truth of the matter is, if we weren't so stupid, we wouldn't have gotten ourselves into the mess that we find ourselves in. But we are awakening. And that's the good news. I'm awakening to my own ignorance and realizing how little I actually know and how much there is yet to learn. And I'm convinced that Spirit is saying, well, that's a good start, Ron. That's a good start. Unless you get to that place, you'll never get anywhere. You've got to first realize how ignorant you are. As Jesus said, if you think that you're in the light, but it's actually darkness, how great that darkness is. It's so dark that you can't see your own darkness. You don't even call it darkness. You think you're enlightened. But you're really not. If you were really enlightened, you'd be free. So these are the kind of things that I ponder and that come to mind as I meditate. And I suppose much of what I do would be more accurately described as contemplation, because meditation is described by many people as being thought-free, getting out of your mind. And most of what I do, I go into my mind, I go into my feelings, I go into sensations and listen for words that come to me, because I think in terms of words. So I guess I really contemplate much more than I meditate, because I've learned a long time ago that it's not about silencing my mind. It's about observing my mind, looking at the thoughts that come through, allowing Spirit to awaken thought within me and feeling within me, and paying attention to those things, seeing them as my friends and my allies, not as something that is an enemy to get away from. And that's part of my ignorance and our ignorance, because we always want something to help us get away from something in our present reality, in our present consciousness that we don't like. And when we do that, we maintain what we don't like. Because Spirit is wanting us, I'm convinced, to take responsibility for our lives. And I'm thinking that doesn't just mean responding to, which is one of the messages Spirit gave me in the past. Your job is to respond to whatever's in front of you, whatever's on your plate. Simply respond to it. Don't react to it, respond. Taking responsibility means something more, I'm shown this morning. It means accepting that the world is exactly as it should be according to my consciousness. It's not something that somebody did to me, not the lawyers, not the courts, not the banks, not the Illuminati, not the devil. It's a reflection of my present consciousness. Am I going to really own that? It's been one of the biggest challenges of my life. I still have trouble with it. I still have trouble owning and taking responsibility for the circumstances in which I find myself and in which I feel entrapped and enslaved, and in which I see myself as a prisoner. For those of us that are ready, education is here now, and it's an accelerated course. It's an opportunity to learn things that we didn't know about our situation, and more importantly, about who we are and what we are. To find within ourselves that flame of freedom that's burning, to recognize that all of our discontent with the way things are is a call to awaken us, to liberate us. But it has to come from within us, because the world will continue to respond to our state of consciousness, to our state of awareness. Are you willing to be aware? Am I willing to be aware? Really aware. Not just figuratively say, well, I take responsibility, but actually take responsibility, and responsibility to learn whatever is needed to learn, to shift our consciousness to a higher plane. Yes, we have angelic help or extraterrestrial help. Yes, Jesus and the other masters are with us now. But they are not outside of us. See, that's the thing. We see ourselves as small. We see ourselves as these bodies. And when we only see ourselves as these bodies, or this mind, or this ego, when we only see ourselves as that, we have limited perception. We must recognize that we are macrocosmic beings having a microcosmic experience. I didn't ever think of that phrase before. Macrocosmic beings having a microcosmic experience. We are each a part of all that is. God, if you will. We're fully God. And yet in the microcosmic experience, we're not even aware of that. And sometimes it's blasphemy to even think of ourselves that way. Yet it's the truth. Just as God was fully manifested in Jesus according to Christian theology, it's true of each one of us. We are each Buddhas and Christs and avatars and masters. But we forgot. Let's accept the fact that we forgot. And now we're in the time of remembering, of taking responsibility for our lives and letting ourselves be educated and taught. There's so much to learn, and the system is so convoluted, so challenging, because it's pushing us to a higher level if we're willing to go, if we're willing to exercise the courage to explore, to keep our mind open, to keep our heart open, to keep in the place where we are thankful for everything, even the things we think that are bad things, that we've labeled evil. Could it possibly be that they are gifts to awaken us collectively and individually? Could it be, as I've pondered before, that the dark is the greatest gift we've been given? For in the dark, we remember and rediscover our own light. Yes, I'd like to have outside help, but the truth of the matter is, there is nothing outside of me. All others are simply parts of the same God that I am a part of, all part of me. I am a massive spirit that has no beginning or end, just like God. I'm not this puny body, which is beautiful body. Beautiful body for someone my age, in good shape, healthy. But I'm not just that, you see. I'm much more, and so are you. And this is our time to remember and awaken and come home to the truth about ourselves. That the world we've created, the world we experience, has always reflected our state of consciousness to us, whether we liked it or not, whether we're willing to accept it or not. When we see, we realize, hey, I've been a creator all along. I've been a co-creator from the beginning, just that I did it ignorantly, unconsciously. Now in this ninth wave, we get a chance to do it consciously. We get a chance to wake up and see what we should have always seen, but we weren't ready to see it, because if we were, we would have seen it. We're in this together, folks. Let's love one another. Let's help one another where we can. Let's uphold and uplift one another as we can. And in so helping the others, you're really helping yourself. So am I. It's okay to see yourself as self-centered, when the self that you're seeing in the center is your higher self, the eternal self, the infinite self. That's the self to be centered on, because all the answers are there. And it's at the very heart of each of us, burning as a flame of freedom. And it's sweeping the world in a new consciousness that will ultimately lead us to the great renaissance, the great awakening, the great shift of the ages. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Still. This is the beginning of fifth dimensional reality. I bless you. Namaste. Have the most beautiful day possible. It'll all be according to your consciousness. Bless you.